participants. So I'm Leonard Baynes. I'm the Dean of the University of Houston Law Center, and I want to welcome you here to this Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Leadership Forum. You know, diversity and equity and inclusion are very, very important issues for our society, our nation, our city, our state, and for this law center. And I felt it was really important for us to have this really important conversation about how to advance diversity and equity and inclusion in our legal profession. And I'm really delighted to co-host this event with Professor Tony Chase. He is a professor at the University of Houston Law Center. He teaches contracts, communications law, racial law, entrepreneurship and the law, and he's noted businessman and legal leader in our community. So many, many thanks for Tony for co-hosting this event with me. Tony, you would like to say a few words?
Sure, I'd love to. Lynn, thank you for being really the creator and the brainchild behind this. I've noticed on the attendance list lots of great people, former students and good friends of mine, good friends of the university, good friends of the law center. And let me personally welcome you and thank you for your support of, broadly speaking, of diversity, equity, and inclusion at the University of Houston Law Center. I also want to mention Ron Turner, who recently passed. Ron was a faculty colleague of mine for, oh my gracious, at least 10 or 15 years, I don't know, something. And he passed recently in the last week or so. Okay. And so, and any conversation that we might have today about issues that I know were so near and dear to his heart, I just feel like it's important to mention him before we go forward. One final comment. There is so much going on in our city today, and in our state and in our nation. And I, for one, and I believe by your participation, hopefully think you do too, believe that these issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion need leadership, really need leadership from each of us and all of us. And the time has never been more important than now. There's so many ways to lead in this regard as well, whether it's by offering job opportunities to our students, by being mentors to our students, by providing financial support to the law center, and basically becoming thought leaders with us in this process. In any case, thank you everyone for being here. I'm very happy that we're having this event.
Thank you, Professor Chase, for your very warm introduction and really focusing on our loss of Ron and what the loss of Ron Turner means to our institution. And he would certainly be here and be very interested in these issues. He's very interested in these issues if he were still with us. But I wanted to bring all of you together because you are leaders in this. You all have expressed interest in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as leaders think obviously not of just today, but tomorrow they think of the future. And one of the things for Houston and Texas and our nation is that Houston already is a majority minority city. It's the most diverse city in the country, as is the state of Texas. And I think of Professor Kleinberg's work at Rice University. He's charted the demographics of Houston for 40 years. And Houston has become a traditional Southern city where it was just black and white. And now it's a very diverse city with African Americans, Latinx, Asian Americans, and many others. And so it's for us, important for us to focus on that change and recognize that we have to be prepared for a workforce of the future. And so Professor Kleinberg, the thing he mentions is there's a great opportunity. Houston is a harbinger of the nation, harbinger of the state, a harbinger of what can be possible with diversity. But it's one thing to just say we have diversity. It's another thing to think about ways that we can work with that diversity to enhance what we do. And that's really very, very important for us to focus on that, because one of the things that Professor Kleinberg warns us about is that as we become more diverse, the challenge we have is the economic inequality between the different races and ethnic groups. And one of the things that we need to focus on is making sure that we prepare the next generation of leaders in our city and our state to deal with these issues. And that's why we're here today, is that many of you are thought leaders, you're very interested in these issues, you've shown your commitment. And I want to, talk to you about all of those things, because I think it's really important for us to prepare for the future. And as Professor Chase said, I'm very heartened by the fact that we have law firm partners, we have managing partners, we have hiring partners, we have general counsel, we have members of the Texas State Legislature, we have judges and former judges here, we have a region of former regents who are here, we have Law alumni leadership here, we have Texas and Houston bar leadership here, we have some of our faculty are here, and we have folks on this call from New York City, from Washington, DC, from Austin, Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, New Jersey, North Carolina, California. So all of you are interested in these issues, and Houston is a great city. It prides itself on its diversity, and University of Houston Law Center is a great law school that provides a lot of diverse talent with respect to our student body. So it's really a sort of a way for us to talk about some of the great work we've done and continue to do. We can always do more, but a way for all of you to be a way, as Professor Chase said, to invest in this development where we want to be. The city of Houston needs to be the model for the nation, and the University Law Center needs to be the model for law schools across the country of pairing excellence and diversity together. So what I like to do at the moment is to share some slides and tell you a little bit about tonight's overall program. And let's see if I can find the slides. It's always a challenge. They always seem to disappear from me when I need them, at the time I need them, but I will get them, rest assured that I found them. So hold on for 1 second as I share my slides. And let me bring them from slideshow. So there we go. From the slideshow from the beginning. So this is the agenda for tonight's programs. We did a welcome already, and this is my dean's report. And then we'll have some student speakers, Alexandria Harris, Emory Powers, Nhu Huynh, Alexxa Leon, and Anthony Collier. And then some of our alumni speakers that will be spotlighted, Reginald Garrett, Barbara Quackenbush, and then we'll go into breakout rooms where we can discuss sort of how ways that we could collaborate and work together. So University of Houston is a great school. It's a nationally ranked school. It's a top tier school, top tier university. It has several programs that are nationally ranked. Our health law program is number 5 in the nation. Its social property is number 8. We actually have 4 programs in the top 20. So health law 5, institutional property 8, part-time program 11, and environmental law 20. We've been cited a number of times for our diversity and commitment of diversity by Pre-Law Magazine, National Jurist Magazine. We've been the recipient of, for 5 years in a row, by the Higher Education Excellence and Diversity Award by Insight and Diversity Magazine. Our students do very well in jobs. Actually, about 93% of them have jobs 10 months after graduation. And a number of them we're in the top 30 of go-to law schools, of our graduates who go to top law firms across the nation, top 100 firms. Our faculty are very well credentialed, they're very smart, they're very talented, they're great teachers. Many of them are members of the American Law Institute, published regularly in top 30 law reviews, and our programs are nationally ranked in the city and the state of Texas. The Houston Law degree is very valuable. The students who graduate from University of Houston Law Center will earn over the course of their lifetime $1 million more if they had a bachelor's degree, and they contribute $133 million more in state sales and property tax revenues as compared if they just had a bachelor's degree. But what you find generally is, in terms of our legal profession, there's a great deal of underrepresentation. And I'm sort of shocked when I see this pie chart for 2019 and 2009 of women, that women are still very much underrepresented in the legal profession. Only 36% of lawyers nationwide are women, the vast majority are men. And when you look at law firms and law firm partners, it's sort of the same thing. When you look at race and ethnicity, you see even more underrepresentation. These are nationwide statistics that 85%, this is 2019, that in 2019, 85% of the lawyers in our nation are Anglo or white. Only 5% are African-American, 5% are Latinx, 2% Asian American, 2% multiracial, and 1% Native American. So very significant underrepresentation of people of color, even though the nation and the city and the state are much more diverse than that. In Texas, our law school graduates, and comprise 9% of all Texas lawyers, which is pretty significant since we're actually a relatively new school, started in 1947, whereas UT, Baylor, South Texas are started much earlier than 20th century. We represent 22% of the attorneys in Harris County, and of the racially diverse attorneys in the state of Texas, we comprise 9%, really just behind the historically Black law school, TSU. In terms of our demographics for our first year class last year, it was a majority women. This is second or third year, and this year will probably be majority women again. So it was 52.8% women. In terms of underrepresented minorities, it's overall 36.1%. 6% are Black, 13.7% are Asian Americans, 15.5% are Latinx, and the median LSAT was 160, and the median GPA was 3.6, almost 3.6. So we have excellence and diversity. We need to do better with the African-American enrollment, I will say that. And we could do better with all the enrollment, but of the people of color. But overall, we're doing well, but we can always do better. In terms of our faculty, if you add up the Black faculty members, this may change now with Ron's passing, actually. I didn't get a chance to change this, but with the Black faculty, the Latinx faculty, the Asian American faculty, the Arab American faculty, and the LGBTQ plus faculty, we're about 32% of our tenured faculty are members of those minority groups. We have a pre-law pipeline program that we started when I became dean, and the program is designed for college students interested in law school, because in my experience, and many of you may not know that I'm a child of immigrants. My parents immigrated to the United States from a small island called St. Vincent. My parents were hardworking and very smart, but they didn't have a college degree. In fact, my father did not have a high school degree. And in my experience, there are a lot of students who are really quite talented and very, very smart. They just don't have the information and the tools to succeed. So this pipeline program is very intense. It's designed to give the students the tools. We've had 240 college students participate in the program. Most are still in college because start in their sophomore or freshman year. 83 of them have been accepted to graduate school, 80 to law school, and some are in law school now. They've been awarded $4.9 million in scholarships. And the most important thing is it makes real results, has real results, that they've been able to increase their LSAT scores by 11 to 14 points, which is significant. It makes a difference between not going to law school, going to certain law schools, and getting scholarship dollars. I wish they would all come to UH, but they don't, unfortunately. And we'll have some testimony about why some of them aren't coming. But they're a very, very talented group. The ones who come to UH Law Center have won writing awards, have been on the law review, have, gotten, incredible jobs at law firms, have done externships in Washington, D.C. for a semester. They've just been really amazing in terms of their accomplishments at UH and their accomplishments in many other places, many other law schools. And this is the demographics of the pipeline program students. So again, it's majority women. 86% of them are female women and 14% are male. We actually need to do a better job with the men. And if you have any, I can answer questions about why I think this is happening. They are very diverse. 31% are African-American, 36% are Hispanic or Latinx, 15% are Asian American Pacific Islanders, 7% are white or Caucasian, 11% are other. And many are from very low incomes, with 34% below family incomes below $25,000 a year, 24% between 26 and 50,000, and you can read the rest of the chart yourself. And so it really is giving opportunities for those who don't have the opportunity. And they're incredibly smart to begin with. They have a 3.65 average GPA while they're here with us. And that's average, means there's a bunch of them who have perfect GPAs. And what I find with our students of color, there's not a question of they're not qualified. They are qualified. It's just no one believes in them and gives them the opportunities, not no one, but many people don't believe in them and give them the opportunities that they need to succeed, like this program does. The program has been recognized by the ABA. It's been recognized by a bunch of other award organizations, but the ABA was specifically for pipeline diversity, so won this award in 2019. In terms of faculty hires, we've hired the 4 last faculty hires have been people from underrepresented backgrounds. So the most recent faculty hires will be joining us in the fall. Jessica Brigant is of Puerto Rican ancestry, and Peter Salib will be our first faculty member of Arab American ancestry. We've shown over the past year commitment to racial and social justice. We have issued the law faculty and staff unanimously, can you ever think of a law faculty and staff unanimously agreeing to this resolution, that they're committed to diversity, inclusion, and social justice. They condemn racism and discrimination in all forms. They will agree to serve as anti-racist, and they'll work to identify and challenge systemic prejudice wherever it exists. And over the course of the year, we've tried to have programming that meets the need after George Floyd's passing. So we had a Juneteenth event last year. Many thanks to our Diversity and Inclusion Committee, especially Professor Duncan and Professor Hoffman for the leadership in a lot of these. And these were many of our very prominent Black faculty members, and some were coming from Portland, Oregon, Washington, D.C., and Montgomery County, Texas, talking about their experiences being a Black lawyer. We had a salon where we introduced our 2 most recent Latinx hires, Elizabeth Trujillo, who specializes in international economic law, and Daniel Morales, who specializes in immigration law, replacing the indomitable Michael Olivas, who I saw on the call, who retired, and he's not retired. Even though he's retired, he's not really retired last year. We had events with Frank Wu, who was a faculty member and dean, actually, of Hastings Law School. Now he's president of Queens College in New York. He talked about Asian American issues and allyship with other groups. We had co-sponsored event with SMU. Many of you may have been there, where we was called Black Lives Matter. It was an all-day event. It's going to actually now be an annual event sponsored by Law School Admissions Council. I'm still very much involved in it. And basically talking about ways that we as a profession can do better and do more. We had a town hall on LGBTQ rights, where we had many of the lawyers who specialize in these areas talk to our faculty, staff, and students and alumni. We had, after the tragic events in Atlanta, we had an event, a CLE, which we co-sponsored with the Asian Law Students Association and the Diversity and Inclusion Committee to combat anti-Asian, anti-AAPI violence. Through the good work of Professor Duncan and Hoffman and many others, and I taught, we had a George Floyd intercession class, which was a pop-up class to discuss many different aspects of the George Floyd case and race and racism. It was very well received. Plan to do it again. And we've also tried to make sure that we have the kind of programming that is important for our students of all backgrounds, but specifically our Latinx students. So we had a pilot bilingual dispute resolution competition that we co-sponsored with Universidad Anáhuac and Universidad La Salle in Mexico, where it's the only competition I'm aware of that is bilingual, which is in English and Spanish. So those of our students who have some Spanish facility and their Mexican students who have English facility, be able to practice in professional English or Spanish, whatever is relevant, and be evaluated by that. And many thanks, I know Michelle Moreno Taylor may be on the call for designing the competition, a labor employment law matter. Many thanks for her efforts and her support of that program. We have a course for Spanish speakers, legal Spanish for Spanish speakers. A lot of my Latinx colleagues, classmates, et cetera, who speak Spanish fairly conversant in it. Always, I found nervous before having to speak Spanish in a professional setting. And so this, I thought, was a way for us to advance those skills that they have, but allow them to be able to develop maybe more professional Spanish speaking. Our students who may have that advantage. We've sent students to competitions that are all in Spanish in Bogota, Colombia. There's a moot court international investment arbitration competition. Again, it was a way for us to highlight and advance those who may be Spanish speakers. And we've sent students to this VIS International Commercial Arbitration Competition in Guadalajara. It was a pre-moot in Guadalajara, Mexico. So we've done a lot of things. This is just a short sampling of some of the things we've done. The last thing we've done is we've now required diversity, equity, inclusion training as part of orientation for our 1L students. We have a trainer, it's being facilitated by University of Louisville law professor Laura McNeil, and she was trained by the Charles Hamilton Houston Institute for Race and Justice, and she focuses on implicit bias. So those are the things that we're doing. We can always do more, and we love to do more. We'd love to figure out what else you'd like us to do. But you're probably tired of hearing me, and I'd like to now turn over the program to our speakers, our student speakers, who can give you an overview of what their experience is like at the University of Houston Law Center. So I'd like first to introduce Alexandria Harris, who is a rising 2L at UH Law Center. So the floor is all yours, Alexandria.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the conversation this evening. My name is Allie Harris, and I'm a rising 2L at the University of Houston Law Center. Standing here today, I can't help but think about the many steps that brought me to law school. I'm here for 13-year-old Allie, who sat on cold courtroom benches awaiting her next foster care placement. I understood early on that the courtroom was a place where an advocate's words truly had the power of life and death, where the truth could not be hidden, and where the law was used as a vehicle for justice. Because of my experiences, I relentlessly pursued a career in law. During my undergraduate studies at Pepperdine University, I participated in the Law Fellows program at UCLA, and I can personally attest to the impact of such programs. As the first person in my family to graduate from college, and as the first generation graduate student, finances played a big role in my deciding where to attend law school. Although I had my seat deposit at UCLA Law in 2018, I withdrew due to financial worries. I decided to continue working as a full-time teacher here in Houston in hopes of better positioning myself for the financial weight of law school before reapplying. Having lived and worked in the Houston community for 5 years, I came to care deeply for the city. And frankly, I went to University of Houston Law Center because it was more financially realistic than many competing schools. After committing to UHLC in 2020, I remained concerned about the financial weight of attending and worked part-time through most of my first semester as a full-time law student. I cannot express how grateful I am to be the 2021 recipient of the Gus A. Schill Jr. Full Tuition Scholarship for Ethics and Representation. Prior to receiving my scholarship, I was heavily considering transferring to a school that would provide me with a larger scholarship package. Because of the Schill Scholarship donors, I have the privilege of focusing on my last 2 years of law school without the weight of financial worries, and I get to remain at a school where I have invested in myself both academically and socially. This past year, my partner and I were named the 2021 John Black Moot Court Competition winners, and I am currently summering at the Loch Lord Houston office. I am incredibly thankful for the individuals at the Law Center who have helped me be successful in my first year. For my professors and classmates, for Anton Montano and Chandra Jackson for helping me prepare for OCI interviews, for Tiffany Tucker for helping me with job application preparation, and for Professor Duncan for leading academic success sessions for BOLSA students. I look forward to leading at the Law Center next year in my role as BOLSA president, supporting competition directors in my role on the Advocates Associate Board, and competing on the UHLC Moot Court team. Thank you to each of you for financially supporting diverse law students like myself and our next generation of legal advocates. I cannot express the difference donor support has made in my life personally. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexandria. That was great, wonderful. And BALSA, for those who may not know, BALSA is the Black Law Students Association. So congratulations on all your success. We have very high hopes for all of you and all of our other students. Thank you. So next is Emory Powers.
Thank you, Dean. My name is Emory Powers. I'm a rising 3L at the University of Houston Law Center. And like Alexandria, when I was deciding to go to law school, two of the biggest priorities and thoughts that I had on my mind were financial difficulties that law school would pose, and diversity and inclusion, and making sure I attended a university that prioritized those values. And for me, I identify as both Hispanic and a member of the LGBTQ community, so I wanted to be sure that the university I attended would not only care about those values, but would be supportive in promoting me to be successful as an attorney, because I think the reason that we're all here having this discussion is the legal profession has not always statistically been the most diverse profession, and there's a lot of work to be done there. And so it was important to me that I would attend a university that would help me be successful there, because I think there's always a little bit of that fear that being diverse might be a barrier to being successful in the field. And so the University of Houston was the first choice for me, partially because of a scholarship that I was awarded from the university, which really helped to alleviate a lot of the financial concerns that I had. And secondly, because when I began to look into the university, I saw that they had a lot of active efforts in place and a lot of initiatives to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, both for students and alumni. And that's not just bringing students in, but I realized it was retaining students, keeping those students in the Houston legal market, and making sure that the legal market in Houston reflected the diversity that the city has, because the legal market needs to reflect the community that they serve. So part two, two things at the university that have really stood out to me in my time here, and being able to serve me as a diverse student and serve the other diverse students at the university has been the Diversity and Inclusion Faculty Committee, on which I serve as student representative. And I see Professor Duncan and Professor Hoffman here who chair that committee, but it's been incredible to be a part of the committee, to have a voice on it, and to sort of see behind the curtain, behind the scenes, all of the conversations that are happening between the faculty and the administration at the Law Center, and being able to recognize issues in the field and step in front of them and try and make sure that we're having active conversations about how we can better serve the students at the Law Center. And in addition, the moot court team, I recently was encouraged by the moot court team last year to participate in the ABA First Amendment Diversity Moot Court Competition, which was an incredible opportunity. It was over 40 teams from across the nation, all diverse students, competing on issues of First Amendment and media rights. And I actually got to advance to the finals in that competition and argue before judges from the Fifth and the Ninth Circuit, which is just an unparalleled opportunity, I think, as a student, to get feedback from them, and ended up walking away with an advocacy award at the end of it. So those kinds of opportunities, I think, that focus on really centering diversity as a priority and creating an environment where diverse students are really the focus, is something that, you know, could not be more important in the legal profession, could not be more important in law school, and really brought me to recognize that that's something that U of H could not care more about. So I have a lot of, you know, thanks in my heart for the administration, for the faculty, for the dean, for making this such a priority for the Law Center, and for all of the initiatives that they've undertaken, like this conversation tonight.
Thank you so much, Emory. Thank you for all your success and your very kind words about what we do. And congratulations on that award that we were all rooting for you at that major competition. So congratulations. Next up is Nhu Huynh, who's a rising 2L.
Hello, thank you for having me here. My name is Nhu, and I am a rising 3L. I started law school in the part-time or the night program, and I had Professor Chase for my 1L contract. So I learned a lot. This week is very special to me because on Monday, I passed my citizenship interview to become a US citizen. And that, thank you. That greatly reminds me of a journey of being in America as an international student from Vietnam for 16 years. I had so many visa and work authorizations that I had at least 4 boxes of immigration records in my attic right now. And so I grew up in a small town in Vietnam. My dad was a day laborer, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So when I was in high school, I got a full scholarship to study in a boarding international high school in New Mexico, Montezuma, New Mexico. And that was really a turning point for me. I remember when I first came to the US, I spoke very little English because I did not have many chances to interact with any foreigners when I was in Vietnam. So I was forced to learn everything very quickly. But I was able to graduate from high school, and then went to UPenn for undergrad, and I got my master's degree at UT. That made me a first-generation college, first-generation graduate, and then now a first-generation law student. For more than 10 years, frankly, I had so many doubts about whether I should go to law school. I enjoy classes in the liberal arts, but with English as my second language, I had very low confidence about my speaking and my writing abilities. And money is also a big barrier. I was not eligible for any federal student loan because of my international status. So I could not afford the law school at all. It was out of the question. So I tried to just not think about law school for 8 years. I worked and then got a job, went to grad school. I got a job at MD Anderson, which is a great employer. So I got married, had my first kid. So I do not, although I feel like something was missing, my life was very comfortable. It was stable. So if it doesn't break, like why fix it, right? But so the only thing that motivated me to apply to law school is that my LSAT score is about to expire. So, and UH is the only school that I apply to, and that's it, because I think that if I don't get it, then law is not something for me. But so to my surprise, I got in UH law with a substantial amount of scholarships. So with that taken care of for my financial concerns, I was able to focus on my going to school at night or working full time. And my kid was very young at that time. She was 2 years old. So juggling all of that at the same time. But I think the most difficult barrier for me is the external pressure and perceptions of people in my own community, including my own family, about me being a Vietnamese woman in the legal field. So I would get comments like, why don't you study to become a paralegal? That's faster and that's cheaper. Or you're just too soft to make it, or you're not going to be to beat the native speaker in court, things like that. And so I just have to internalize these comments and make them motivated me to push forward. And so after the first year of law school, I was ranked the #1 student in my class. And right now I'm the editor-in-chief of the Houston Journal of Health Law and Policy. So these accomplishments were a surprise to many people, including myself. So it has, my journey at UH has exceeded all that I could imagine for myself like a few years ago. And so I would never know what was waiting behind the door if I did not have the courage to knock on the door. And I knocked, and UH answered with a very generous scholarship for me. So I only needed one door to open, and that's the right door for me. So I was very, very grateful. Thank you so much.
Tonya, that was wonderful. Great, great, great story about overcoming obstacles. Many, many congratulations to you. Thank you. Next up is Alexxa Leon.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alexxa Leon, and I'm a rising 3L at the University of Houston Law Center. And I decided to attend UHLC primarily because I wanted to be a student at a university with a diverse student body. And I wanted to be in a diverse city where I could grow my legal career. And over the last 2 years, I found that the Law Center has provided me the opportunities to learn and grow beyond what I could have imagined. I'm the proud daughter of immigrants. I'm a first-generation professional from a low-income background. And when I started law school, I had never met a lawyer before. And so that first year, it often felt like the people around me were speaking a different language. I struggled to understand my readings. And so I spent every minute I could rereading. I would read my assignments a week ahead of time so that I could meet with my tutors. And then I'd read it again on the weekends. And then I'd wake up early before class and read it again. That reading paid off because despite all of my doubt, that first semester, I was awarded the Lex Award for highest grade in the class in both torts and civil procedure, and landed in the top 10% of my class. I owe any success I've had over the last 2 years to my family, but also to the tutors and to the professors who not only fielded every single one of my questions, but encouraged them. And one professor last semester told me, there's no such thing as too many questions. And he even said it was my right as a law student to ask as many questions as I wanted. And so this constant support has allowed me to develop the confidence in my abilities and nurture my intellectual curiosity. The last 2 years have not been without bumps in the road. When it came time for the law review write-on competition, I didn't know what law review was and was just very unsure whether I could do it. But when I began to doubt myself, I remembered that my torts professor, Meredith Duncan, took the time to mail me a book on academic legal writing with a note wishing me luck. This year, I was elected a senior articles editor on Law Review, and my comment was just selected for publication. Because of these challenges I experienced adjusting to law school, I was eager to serve as a teaching assistant this past year for both civil procedure and con law. I wanted to be a resource to the 1Ls and pass on the kindness and grace that was extended to me by my tutors. But beyond this academic support, the financial support that I have received by the Law Center has made a significant difference. Because I depend on my student loans to cover my living expenses, the scholarship that I received really helped ease the financial challenges that I experienced during that first year, particularly worrying whether I'd be able to pay my rent. And so because of that scholarship, I've been able to focus on school instead of dividing my time with a part-time job. Finally, the Law Center has opened the doors to exciting professional opportunities for me. Last summer, I had the opportunity to intern at Sussman Godfrey, where I was both challenged and supported. That internship at Sussman Godfrey opened the door to intern at the US Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit this past spring, which has so far been the most rewarding and exciting learning experience that I've had in law school. And this summer, I'm incredibly fortunate to have the opportunity to explore transactional work at Latham & Watkins and continue to explore litigation at Sussman Godfrey. In closing, these past 2 years, I've worked hard to honor the sacrifices that my family has made for me to be here. And so I'm grateful that I found both the support and opportunities here at the Law Center to be able to make my family proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexxa. It was wonderful. I mean, congratulations on all your success. And you know, it's just great that we're able to help our students actualize their obvious intellectual acumen. So congratulations. Next up is Anthony Collier, who's one of our, not a UH student, he's actually a UT student, law school student, but he's a product of our pipeline, UHLC pipeline program. So Anthony, you're up.
Thank you, Dean Baynes. As Dean Baynes mentioned, I'm Anthony Collier, a rising 3L in the class of 2022 G. Rowley White Public Service Scholar at the University of Texas School of Law. I also serve as chair of the National Black Law Students Association, the largest student-run nonprofit in the nation. And I previously served as the SBA president at Texas Law. I also want to acknowledge Representative Wiley because he did such a great job at the this past legislative session. And this summer, I'm in DC as a House Judiciary Committee fellow. And one of the students in Congresswoman Lee's office is his former intern from the 86th session. So she's following in his footsteps because he also interned for Congresswoman Lee at one point. So thanks for being here, Rep. Wiley. Yeah, so as the Dean mentioned, my affiliation with the University of Houston Law Center is the Pipeline Program. And I went to Texas Southern University in undergrad. I'm a first generation college student, didn't know any attorneys growing up. And I actually had no intentions or thoughts of going to law school, but I attended a panel discussion at the University of Houston my freshman year at Texas Southern, because you know it's right across the street. And one of the people on the panel was Dr. Edwin Lee, who I was so impressed with. I went and introduced myself after the panel. And based off of our conversation, he told me I should consider law school, and that the University of Houston has started a new pipeline program that Dean Baynes brought over from St. John's, and I should apply. So I did, I applied, thankfully. I got into the program, and it put me on a path to go to law school. I did well in the program. My LSAT score from the time I went in to the time I finished increased significantly. I got the top trial advocacy award. And they gave me a paid internship at Bracewell where I met Miss Meridia, who I also see is on the call. I don't believe she's at Bracewell anymore, but it's good to see her as well. And yeah, and I did all three aspects of the program. I did the Scholar One program, which gave me a paid internship, and I got to take law classes from Professor Duncan and a bunch of other great professors and brilliant legal minds. And that was track one. Scholar Two was all LSAT preparation, and so they really prepared me for the LSAT and really improved my score. But also, it's not just LSAT prep, it's a really comprehensive program. They help with your resume, they help with your personal statement, they help you secure letters of recommendation. It's really an all-around thorough, comprehensive program. And the University of Houston Law Center's admissions office really walks you through the program. And I was so thankful. I would have went to UH Law, but they didn't offer me enough money. I gotta be honest. Texas Law gave me a full scholarship. It was an offer I could not refuse, but I have a lot of love for UH Law. And yeah, so the pipeline program is an incredible program. Oh, and the third track, because I did mention there's 3 tracks. So after I was accepted to law school and I decided to go to Texas Law, Dean Baynes and the law program did not hold it against me. They accepted me into the Bridge internship program, where I went back to Bracewell and had a paid internship with Bracewell the summer before I started law school. So I was really ahead of the game because of the pipeline program, and I appreciate that. I appreciate it so much so that as through the National Black Law Student Association, I'm donating $3,000 to the pipeline program to fund 3 NBASA scholars, or SORBASA scholars, I should say, because I made the commitment when I was chair of the Southwest region, which is all of the Black law students in Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. I've since been elected chair of the entire organization, but at the time I was chair of the Southwest region. And so, and I donated the money because I believe in Dean Baynes' vision. I believe in the pipeline program, and I know firsthand how effective the program is.
Thank you, Anthony. And the other thing I need to point out is that he was also accepted to my alma mater, Columbia Law School. He decided to go UT. We had a conversation about that, and many thanks for your generosity and your support of the program. We're very proud of you. And we're proud of all of our pipeline program students, no matter where they go to law school. We, of course, would want all of them to come here, but that requires the resources to make that happen. And so congratulations and thank you for all your support and your successes. Next up, we'd like to have 2 other final speakers. We go to breakout room, and they are our alums who will give us an aspect of their experiences, and and they're very generous alums to the Law Center. So the first is Reginald Garrett. He graduated from the University of Houston Law Center in 2005. He hails from New Jersey, and he has a lot of experience in real estate, sports, business, consulting, and he's an entrepreneur. He reminds me of Tony Chase a little bit. He founded RWG Strategies and Fortune Who Redevelopers companies. He went to Seton Hall undergraduate, where he's an athlete, and he's been very, very successful businessman. And many, many thanks, Reginald, for your philanthropy and your support of the Law Center. So Reginald, you're up.
Well, thank you, Dean. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and hearing from these outstanding students before. It takes me back to when I was in their shoes, whether it was a rising 2L or 3L. And Anthony, it's too bad we couldn't get you to come to U of H, but we wish you all the best of luck and trailblazing that path for everyone moving forward. As Dean noted, I graduated in 2005, so my story is a little bit different. When I'm not the first one in my family or even in my network of folks who went to college or even went to grad school. When I was coming up, it was expected to do that. But I've always been taught by those around me and those who I look up to is, to much that is given, much is expected. And I've been very fortunate in my life to work around and be around some outstanding individuals. I went to undergrad for free, walked away with no debt, which is very rare, especially in these times. And I walked out of the University of Houston without any debt. So I doubled down and got 2 degrees, and I'm not paying the government anything back. And I look back on that now, 15, 20 years after the fact, and I realize how lucky that is, especially when I'm talking to individuals who are paying multiple degrees back and have that burden of student loans. And when we decided to give our scholarship, that was something we really wanted to focus on, to be able to give back to those individuals that are having to make that decision of going to one school to another and want to go to that school because they're able to give them that type of money. And I hope that our scholarship will be something like that, whether it's Alexxa Leon or Allie or Tanya or anybody that can make that difference. If we can help in any way to assist that, that's what we want to be able to do. And when it comes to diversity, when I went into the University of Houston, I was one of 5, or I guess 6, because we were all in one section, and the other individual, I guess, didn't check the box on her registration paper. So it was just looking around, and you could tell all through our 3 years together, we had a bond that I don't think is even broken to this day. We don't talk as much as I think we would like to, but we're still in touch. And as that grows, our community grows. And the 3 years we were there, the individuals that were in front of me, whether it was James and Jason Payne, Kevin Kelly, Orville Dunk, Kong Lee, Kyle Rome, those individuals all helped me in some way to be the individual, whether it's the person or the businessman I am to help out in so many other things. So what we want to do is hopefully be able to, pull those folks up behind us and give them the opportunity to excel in law school, or if that's the carrot they need to choose the University of Houston over the University of Texas or any other school out there, hopefully that'll be something that we can do. So with Dean Baynes' leadership, we're all on board with inclusion, diversity, and equity, not only in law school, but also throughout. Because I know in all of our businesses and companies, we make that a criteria, no matter if it's a paid internship or our parking lot attendant with our delivery company or any of the vendors that we work with. We're always going to look hard to make sure we are diversifying our portfolio in every aspect of our business.
Thank you, Reginald. And that was great. Thank you for your philanthropy. Thank you for your support of the Law Center. And thank you for your support of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Many, many things. Next up is our next speaker is Barbara Quackenbush. She graduated in 1975. She's one of the few women attorneys at Vincent and Elkins in the late 60s.
There was a nice story on about him. Ooh, look at this. What is this?
Gilmore, you may need to mute. Barbara Quackenbush is a graduate of 1975. She's one of the first women attorneys at Vincent Elkins in the late 70s. She was a part-time student and she was a full-time legal secretary. She's a trailblazer for women in the community. She's worked in real estate at Exxon, Chase Mortgage Company, and several other prominent Houston organizations. She's a survivor of sepsis and breast cancer. We're very thankful for her for being here and supportive of our students and the Law Center. So you're up next, Barbara. Barbara, are you there?
I think she's on mute. I think you're on mute, Barbara.
Here, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. Well, thank you, Dean Baynes, for this opportunity to talk about the reasons my husband and I wanted to provide scholarship assistance for women and minority attorneys, or students rather, and at the Law Center. I was raised in a very segregated South at a time when women and minorities were either not able to attend or were discouraged from pursuing professional occupations. I graduated in 1965 from Birmingham Southern College with a major in Latin, but I decided not to teach, and therefore, fortunately, I had outstanding typing skills as well as shorthand and writing skills. So that was my fallback. And so a sorority sister and I decided to move to Houston to get a job because it was much larger than Birmingham. And that was the year that the visa programs were changed to invite more skilled workers. So as a result, Houston has experienced this tremendous growth in population, as well as being, as the dean mentioned, being the most diverse city in the nation. When I arrived in, let me see, I guess my first job in Houston, I was personal secretary to Dr. Michael DeBakey. And then 5 years later, I went to work for Dan Arnold, who was head of the real estate department at Vincent and Elkins. A year later, I applied to the University of Houston Law School and started their night program in 1971. And while I was working 50 to 60 hours a week, fortunately, I was able to make good enough grades to get offers from Vincent and Elkins, as well as I had other offers, but I wanted to stay there since they're, as the dean said, they're the largest law firm in Houston. And then after I switched to the banking section and practiced real estate and finance law for 18 years at Vincent Elkins and other law firms, and then for another 18 with Chase Mortgage and with ExxonMobil. I retired in 2011, and then in 4 years ago, in May of 2017, I got, as the dean mentioned, I got sepsis from a bladder infection and a blocked ureter that I didn't know I had. And fortunately, I survived. The morning they were taking me off life support, my husband got me to respond or move my head, so they didn't take me off life support, and I did survive. But I was left with, my hands were amputated and my toes, so I ended up having 12 surgeries, but at least I can walk. And it makes you know how fragile life is and makes you want to give back in a meaningful way. So that's when we talked to University of Houston and also Birmingham Southern College, and gave to about making a scholarship. And the nice thing is they worked with us in a blended situation where we gave some cash over 5 years, and then we have the remainder under 401ks. So it just is very gratifying to me. And fortunately, we have two sons who are very successful. They didn't go to law school. I wanted them to, but one's a chief actuary of an insurance firm, and one has his own tech company. He's a computer engineer in Austin. So they've done so well, they don't need any of our money. So that's nice. We don't have to support them, and we can do, what we want to with our financial planning. There were two last things I wanted to say, is that my life was so much richer as a result of being a lawyer. Had I not attended an excellent law school such as University of Houston, I would not, if it had not had a night program that allowed me to go to work and go at night, I would not have been able to go to law school. To this day, I cannot think of another occupation I would have preferred, or which is one that I would be better suited for. Throughout my career, I've worked with supporting people, trying to get them better jobs, encourage them to go to school or whatever, and I've probably helped at least 30 people in that regard, and most of whom are either women or minorities, although I'm happy to help a man too, a white man. But it's just so gratifying to see what has come about in the last 50 to 60 years. The last thing I was just going to wrap up, when I was doing this, I realized that I was in Birmingham, Alabama, right in the middle of, the civil rights, so many important things of the civil rights movement. In 1963, when I was a junior, I think it was a junior, that's when the University of Alabama was integrated, when Governor George Wallace stood in the door, and that's when President Kennedy, had whoever he sent to have them go in, the two students, and I'll never forget that. And then it was when I was in school in Birmingham, there was a black church that was bombed, some nutcase. But there were good things too. There was a successful sit-in at a lunch counter. Also, when I was there, my last semester, I believe, was when the Edmund Prentice Bridge, the Sunday march over the Edmund Prentice Bridge in Selma occurred. So, at the time, I didn't really understand about living through that. But now looking back, to see the changes and the progress that's been made in this particular, South, which was still integrated at that point. And so I was just going to bring that up. But anyway, I'm just so supportive of women and minorities because of some of the obstacles that women and minorities have faced. And so I'm glad in a small way to be able to do something. And these 5 students, or 4 of whom are yours, but the other sort of yours, a bridge student, are so impressive. And if there any, I'm sure it's just blows me away and it's wonderful. So I'm so gratified and I'm so happy you put on this program.
Barbara, thank you so much. You're very inspiring. Many thanks for your trailblazer, and we really appreciate all your support and your successes, and you're overcoming so many obstacles. So many.
Thank you.
First of all, it's been a great convening, and lots of good thoughts, ideas. I love always, maybe it's just curse of being a professor. I love to hear students' stories, particularly students who I don't know, and then especially students I do know. So thank you to all of you who participated tonight. Thanks also to everyone else, because this will be, you are obviously all people who care, and that's the first step in leadership on this issue, I think. So I think it's fair to say that the dean's apparatus will be reaching out. The long arm of the dean will be reaching out to include you in our further thoughts on these issues, and hopefully to gather your support in any number of ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chase. It's been an honor to host this event with you. I'm glad we had this conversation. I've been, for those who may not know, I've been dean for 7 years.
Wow.
7 years in August. I'm actually the 2nd longest serving UH Law dean now. And I've been thinking about ways to have this kind of conversation. So I'm glad actually we've been able to have it tonight. And I'm actually glad we're able to do it on Zoom, because we've had people from all over the country join us. So that's really been a plus. And a lot of you were invited because I know that you, as Professor Chase indicated, you care deeply about these issues. You've been leaders on these issues, and we need your help, because I think that if just standing still puts us behind, just standing still moves us backwards, because the world is changing, our demographics are changing, and we need to make sure we change with it, so that we're ahead of the curve as opposed to behind the curve. And the University of Houston Law Center is poised to be that shining law school on the hill that marries excellence and diversity together. But to make that happen, as you've seen with our incredible students and incredible alums and donors, the school does an excellent job of finding really talented students of all different backgrounds, educating them, and pushing them in ways they may never ever expected to be pushed, to be as excellent as they can be. And that's really the key. And we have, we could always do better, but we often have had African Americans, Latinx, Asian Americans, and others on our law reviews, in our MOOC Corp competitions, and being very successful at our law school. So keep that in mind. So the ways you can help us, there are many ways that you can help us. And we'll have, as Professor Chase said, we'll have further conversations. But one is you can mentor our students. As you can see, they are talented, but many of them are first-generation college students, and they may not know what they don't know. And so every help you can give them would be very, very appreciated in that regard. You can hire them. You can see how fabulous they are. Is there any reason not to hire them? And you haven't even seen all of them, right? You haven't seen so many others. So please hire them. Come and look and come to our career development fairs and hire our students. And third, I will quote James Payne, who was in my group, is that he suggested that we actually call this diversity equity and inclusion and investment, diversity, equity, and DEI squared, because people know, everyone knows it costs a lot to have excellence. Why do people live in neighborhoods that have high real estate values? Why do they send their kids to private schools? Why, even when they send their kids to private schools, do they have tutors for their kids to go to private schools? Because people know it requires a lot to have excellence, that you want to maximize the capacity and capability of your children. And these are all our children. They're our society's children. And we need your help through your philanthropy and your support to make a difference in their lives, for help us to attract them and for them to succeed in law school. So again, many, many thanks for all of you who are here. It's been a really great event with a wide array of incredible speakers. Many thanks to Barbara and Reginald for their philanthropy and their support. And many thanks to all of you who have been here tonight. So thank you so much. Have a good evening.